Hey guys, Abby Johnson here from Matterhorn Business Development. Today I have another super awesome interview for you. I'm interviewing my friend Matt DeRyan, the CEO and co-founder of Worry Free Marketing. There's a lot of marketing companies out there, but when I need to send a client somewhere, I send them to Matt. We've had many great chats. We just had a great chat actually. So welcome, Matt. Tell the people about Worry Free Marketing a little bit.
Hey, Abby. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate that you wanted to have me on and ask me questions. As I was saying on our chat, I'm a marketer, so that means I usually have something to say and don't run out of opinions to give. So Worry Free Marketing is a company that uses the internet and platforms on the internet to help business owners grow their business. So when I word it that way, when we think of a platform, you have, Google is a platform, Facebook is a platform, YouTube is a platform. Anywhere that people are going and congregating, think of them as fish. Where do the fish go on the internet? Well, we will look at where these fish are going, find the right fish for the business owner, and help them market to those fish in the way that they want to, connect and build relationships and end up doing business. So that's what we do. That means website development. That means advertising management. That means creating a lot of content. But that is the sphere that we're in. That's Worry Free Marketing.
Awesome. So obviously times in business and in the world are a little bit different right now. So I was just wondering from you as a marketer, what's your viewpoint on what's happening in the business world, and are you using kind of different approaches with your clients or changing marketing during this time?
Okay, so I'm going to break that question up because you asked me two. And so I want to answer the first one first, which is the viewpoint. So it's going to get a little philosophical, but everyone, please bear with me. I promise it will be worth it. So money has to be in circulation to have a lot of value from the perspective of helping people survive. When money sits in our accounts and is not spent, it's potential, but it's not realizing anything yet, other than the tiny amount of interest that can grow in those accounts. When we start putting that money to use, investing it, doing different things, the potential starts to increase. When we buy food and eat it, that's potential put in. When everyone was told to, essentially shelter in place, stay in your home, safer at home, the money stopped circulating. And so, of course, that potential went down. Well, that also means that people's potential for survival also went down. And we're seeing right now that we have certain industries that are hit harder than others, food service industries especially, groups, businesses that are dependent upon groups, right? Their survival went down because less people are in motion. Okay, so that's a little dismal, people not in motion. So what is the solution then? And the solution is to get people back into motion. And when people who are actually the ones who control and spend this money and use this money, as they go back into motion, the money itself will also go back into motion. And thus you'll have a lot of circulation happening and it will go. And thus you'll have more survival. And thus you'll have more of that energy potential being realized as actual energy. So my viewpoint right now is that there are people who are sitting still and waiting, and they're going to be naturally a little fearful of what's occurring, a little uncertain about the future. But the certainty of the future really is created by individuals, and especially dynamic business owner individuals. And they really are the best not at showing up somewhere to just do work and be a cog in a machine, but actually build machines that do work and put people to work as those cogs. And ideally, of course, not viewing them as a cog, but viewing them as an important piece, to alter that analogy, when they're building something. And so as business owners are thinking about right now, and as they're thinking about their future, when they can predict, okay, motion is going to occur, people are going to start moving again, people are going to start spending again, this may be a great time to figure out what they want their own future to hold and then start building towards that future. And I really do think it is a good time. It's get attention into the future and decide what motion you'll take, be ready to capture the motion as it goes, and also recognize where is motion still happening. For example, internet usage is highest it's ever been. Facebook usage is highest it's ever been. YouTube and Google, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, highest it's ever been. Netflix, highest it's ever been. There is motion happening. You can't see as much of it because it's happening on the computer, and yet humans are still doing it. So there are certain industries where there's pivots they can make, there's things they can do, there's things they can do differently when they open, but it comes to, can we as business owners put our attention on the future and start creating that future? So that is my viewpoint as both a business owner, a human, and a marketer. Any good ideas that we're going to have right now will come from that point of view, in my opinion. That's where that will come from. Difference-wise, we do have some, you asked the other question, okay, so what are you maybe seeing different marketing-wise? There are a few industries where, I say to myself, it's a really good thing that I'm not a restaurant marketer. Because I don't know what to say. I am sure that they would stop paying me right now. And that I'm sure I'd have a lot of great clients that would start paying me again when things picked back up, which they're going to. But I would have a huge drop in revenue. I don't really, the only thing I could do about it would be to pivot into other industries at that point, and that would be what you'd have to do. So there are certain industries that, there's no sugarcoating, they've been really hit. But the internet usage is higher than it's ever been. And I really would recommend that business owners are doubling down there. And while other industries are clamping down on their promotion, it means that buying advertising, getting traffic specifically on the internet is cheaper than it's ever been. So your dollar goes further and you can get more clients than ever before. So get on that internet and get on those platforms and market away. And when you see the pop happen, your pop will pop even more. Nice.
And then what about, you told me earlier that, there's a couple clients who can't operate right now due to the nature of their business. What's your approach going to be like when they are back up and operating? I know a lot of people I've heard are kind of on the more fearful side of like, well, I don't want to seem slimy and like try to sell right now or things like that. So they still seem to me, even if they can be open, they're still kind of like holding themselves back.
Yeah, I do have something to say about that. There are certain industries where proactive advertising could appear insensitive. And proactive advertising, just to really make it clear for anyone who watches this in the future, I'm thinking of like a Facebook ad where the person didn't necessarily make a search right in that moment for a specific product or service, but they're being shown this product or service. So there's certain industries it could be perceived that way. However, that same industry, reactive marketing, so the prospect goes to Google and says, or goes to Bing or Yahoo, which does get used, I'm looking for this person. I'm looking for this service right now. Okay. Why should you not advertise and cater to that person who is looking for you? So the people who might try to accuse you, I did have a client recently, they got accused of trying to take advantage of something and we had to change the ad. And no matter how clear we've made the ad, there's still people trying to hit on them. They're in the medical field. What they're doing is actually really helpful, but there's not really any way to avoid it. On Google, it's not going to happen because the person is searching for same-day testing, right? So, okay, same-day testing. Well, then you go on Facebook and you proactively advertise same-day testing for a fee, and people say, oh, the government's doing it for free. And you're like, yeah, you got to wait like 2 weeks or whatever to get your result. Right. Some people need it today. They actually have to have it in order to return to work or the restaurant or whatever it is. To do that, there's going to be a fee, and the government's not going to pay for it. $150 to get that test same day is really not a big deal. But there's people who are going to hate on it. So ignore those haters. It's going to happen. But if you can take that budget and say, okay, we're in a sensitive industry, let's put it into search. And then when this is over, we'll slide some of it back over into proactive ads, right? And then of course, be sensitive with your proactive ads. That's about what I would say. It's not stop doing everything. Be realistic and understand that if someone wants to buy a bicycle right now and they're searching to buy bicycles, but you're supposed to like not advertise that you sell bicycles, even though they're searching for bicycles, because someone else might get mad at you for saying you're selling bicycles and people like, whatever. So that's what I would say to that. It's just whatever.
Yeah. And I love that because I think no matter what right now, somebody needs what you're offering. Even here at Matterhorn, there are business owners who obviously aren't going to hire us right now because they're out of business or don't have any income, but we still are signing up clients right now because there are still people who need help with their businesses. And
That's right.
so I love that strategy of like focusing on the reactive, like you're really drilling in on those people who need you right now and not kind of like fishing for completely cold leads at this time.
Right. That's right. And when things start to spin back up even more, you go back to your most successful actions, perhaps with a very quick review on any of those actions to make sure if any messaging needs a slight tweak, you can do it. But you'd return back to your things that have won already, things that have already worked in the past. You're just going to go ahead and do those again.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
with the
cool.
advertising, more marketing.
So then, like I mentioned before, you're kind of known for your awesome networking coffee chats that we've had before, and I know you do with others. So if I was a business owner sitting down with you right now and I just said, you know, Matt, I just feel, you know, and I can be open. Let's say I'm a service-based business, like a lawyer or even a chiropractor or a dentist or something like that, who can be open. But I feel like I can't, you know, all my numbers are down, nothing's working. What kind of advice would you be giving me at this time?
The first thing I would ask is whether or not you've taken advantage of the current economic stimulus packages that exist, which for most people are 3 to 4 in number, even though a lot of them only know of 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. And so you've got the personal stimulus from the IRS, depending on the income bracket you fit into, the taxable income bracket. Then you have the PPP, which is going to provide payroll protection, which does apply to sole proprietors, even though many of them, aren't aware of how it would apply, which is why they should totally hire Profit First and use you for that system, because then all their records would be there and they would be able to pull the records and go right and just have a hassle-free job of getting that loan. Then you have the EIDL, and the EIDL is not the same as the PPP. And so if you've got a business where they say, look, like, I think I'm going to go under, you say, well, if you had an infusion of 200 grand, could you stay open? Oh, but how would I pay it back? Well, what if it was a 3% loan for 30 years, like a home loan? Would it be worth it to you? Could you pay it back? That's the EIDL. And I know people who have gotten it. Then you have local. So like in Pinellas County, where you're based, they have a $5,000. It's not much, but here's a $5,000 grant if you have a physical operation. So let's say in a restaurant example, they can get that. Separate from that, you also have the state of Florida has some funding that they're doing. Then you can get creative. Maybe it's a time to bring on an investor. Maybe it's a time to take a look at that kind of a thing, or go employee owned or do something. Now, look, I don't think at some point a ship sinks and you should get on a different ship. That does happen. Mm-hmm. So I would say, do you have all those things in place? Have you gotten them? Get them. Let's make sure that you've gotten all of those so you get all the security you need in that regard. It would just be a matter of finding out really where are you at? Have we gotten you taken care of in that regard? We can get the most immediate things. And then it's going to be situational, of course, like, well, okay, right. Where is your business really? I would never want to give bad advice, but I'm finding that the most important thing is encouraging people to take advantage of that. And then the long-term advice I'd give, the very next thing I would say, and I totally steal it from Warren Buffett. This is who I steal this from. In the short term, there are short-term bets people can make against America, and those bets can pay off. You can make a short-term bet that the housing market's going to collapse. You can make a short-term bet that coronavirus is going to crash the economy, and you can make a lot of money. There's a guy who put like 30 million in and he got 3 billion out from that bet. Very famous investor. There was a news story on it. But there is no long-term bet against America that has ever succeeded. England tried it originally. They are the original bettors against America, okay? 1776, Declaration of Independence. They came and lost. They tried it again. You've got the French in Spain. You've got Mexico, who tried it at one point. James A. Polk was like, nope, expanded westward into California. You can go that far back and talk governmentally. Then you can talk economically. Think of all the people who were betting against America on the Trump-China thing, which even still goes on. Yeah. So the long-term view, take S&P 500, understand what the S&P 500 actually is, which is a much healthier index of the United States than the Dow. The Dow is 30 big companies. Look at the S&P 500, look at that, look at it for the last 100 years, and then ask yourself, are you still going to be in business for 10, 20 years from now? Are you still going to be in business? on, are you going to bet for America or against America? And who are you and where are you at? And that mindset, I think, is really important because we're going to win. Mm-hmm. We're going to come out of it. We're going to come out ahead. And it's not just, neo-patriotism or something like that. I'm just saying historically, long-term bets against America fail. You put 100,000 in 1980 or 1990 into the S&P. Look how much you have. It's a real thing here. Our companies thrive. So when they say, well, I'm uncertain about the future, I can say, well, anytime anyone has been uncertain about America's future, the certain thing they can be right about was America did have a future, it did grow, it did expand, and we did well. Even industrial revolution, we're going through the information age right now, like we're going to keep winning. There you go. And I just try to get them on that. I'd say, look, I try to inspire them because then I'm getting their attention on the future, which goes back to that point of, survival is in the future. Survival is in motion. Mm-hmm. So if you can get your attention on the future and you can survive into the future and you can start creating that future, you can win.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. It's, things might look bleak right now, but this too shall pass. It's
right.
This is unprecedented, but it's going to pass. We will get through it. And you got to be, it's definitely a creative and innovative time of how you're going to get through it. But
absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to make it out.
Yeah. You got to be able to pivot. You've got to be ready. Look at all the different things that have happened. There was an economic collapse when Bill Clinton took office, 9/11 occurred. Horrendous day, horrendous time. Think about everyone that just froze. The economy crashed, everyone stopped traveling. Then you had 08, 09. That was just this awful thing that lasted for a bit. I mean, gosh, if you invested in 2010 in anything when it was down, look at how much money you've made. You've 400% or something. It's insane. Then you have this going on right now. Even Tim Cook at Apple said he thinks it'll be a big V. We'll just go bump, and then go. I think he's right. He's got a macroeconomical view, but it's we've made it as a country through so many things, and really a lot of other countries have also made it through so many things like this because it's in our nature to want to survive and do good. And so I think that we will survive and do good and allowed to survive and do well and not crushed and held down, we'll survive and do well. And I think the small business owners, they're really the movers and shakers in this country and in the world. So I think that they're the ones who are actually going to go, is it going to be okay? It's sort of, okay, well, let me ask you, is it going to be okay? It's like, who are you asking? Look in a mirror, ask yourself that question, and then be the reason it's okay. A little pithy, but, it's like true.
It's very true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and talk to our subscribers. Where can people find you if they want to learn more information about worry-free marketing?
Sure. They can visit worryfreemarketing.com. They can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, search worry-free marketing, I'll pop right up, or matt@worryfreemarketing.com. Awesome.
All right, guys. So thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. Stay safe and healthy. Comment below if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.